Shut up, you piece of trash. His hand closed around her throat. 4 men. 1 woman. No witnesses. They shoved her against the wall. They laughed. They thought the 22-year-old girl in plain clothes was just another victim to break. One reached for her zipper. Another hit record. The third blocked the door. What they didn't know was that the woman they just cornered held the Navy's record for longest confirmed sniper kill. And 3 seconds later, one was on the floor, screaming. One was spitting teeth. One was crying. And the last one was still holding the phone. But now, it was evidence. Before we show you how the hunters became the hunted, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and tell me in the comments what city you're watching from. Let's see how far this story travels. The transport van door slid open, and Maya Chen stepped onto the cracked asphalt of Fort Ridgeline Combined Arms Base. No escort, no fanfare, just a 22-year-old woman with a small duffel bag and eyes that had seen more death than most generals. She stood 5'3", 115 pounds soaking wet. Her black hair was pulled back in a regulation bun that made her look even younger than she was. The uniform she wore was plain, unmarked, the kind that said, "Administrative nobody" to anyone who bothered to look. Nobody bothered to look. A corporal with a clipboard jogged toward her, already talking before he reached her. "You the marksmanship evaluator Chen, right?" Maya didn't respond immediately. Her eyes moved across the base perimeter with mechanical precision. Fire exits, roof angles, camera positions. Which ones had blinking red lights? Which ones didn't? "Ma'am?" She turned to face him. "That's correct." The corporal grinned, the kind of smile that came too easy and meant nothing. "Gotta say, we don't get many female evaluators out here, especially not ones who look like they should still be in college." Maya held his gaze until the grin faltered. "Show me to my quarters." "Yes, ma'am. Right this way." He turned and walked, and Maya followed, already cataloging everything he didn't say. Fort Ridgeline was the kind of base that looked good on paper and rotted from the inside. Remote location, minimal oversight, a reputation for producing elite marksmen that gave it enough prestige to avoid scrutiny. The perfect hunting ground. Maya had read the classified reports on the flight in. 3 female soldiers had requested emergency transfers from the same sniper training unit within 6 months. All 3 cited personal reasons. All 3 refused to elaborate. All 3 had their marksmanship scores mysteriously drop right before their requests were approved. The pattern was obvious to anyone willing to see it. Nobody had been willing to see it. Until now. The corporal led her past a row of barracks, still talking, filling the silence with information she didn't need. "Range is about half a mile east. Chow hall's that way. The instructors usually eat separate, but you're welcome to join if you want." "I don't." He glanced back, surprised by her tone. "Okay, sure. Anyway, the lead instructor is Master Sergeant Harrigan. Decorated guy. 3 combat tours. Holds the base record for accuracy at distance. Everyone respects him." Maya filed that name away. "Everyone? I mean, yeah. He's tough but fair. You know how it is." She knew exactly how it was. Men like Harrigan were never tough but fair. They were tough to some and predatory to others. The distinction depended entirely on what you had between your legs. They reached a single-story building at the edge of the training complex. Plain concrete, small windows, the kind of temporary housing that had somehow become permanent over decades of budget cuts and institutional neglect. "This is you," the corporal said, gesturing to a door at the end of the hall. "Quiet wing. Not many people assigned over here right now." Maya studied the hallway. Dim lighting. No cameras visible. a maintenance sign on a door near the far stairwell that looked like it had been there for years. Cameras? The corporal shrugged. Some? Most of them are older systems. Half don't work, to be honest. Base keeps saying they'll upgrade, but you know how that goes. She knew. Thank you, Corporal. That will be all? He hesitated like he wanted to say something else, then thought better of it. Yes, ma'am. Welcome to Fort Ridgeline. He walked away, and Maya stood alone in the hallway, listening to his footsteps fade. Then she heard it. 2 voices. Female. Coming from a room 3 doors down. The door was cracked open and the conversation carried in the empty corridor. I'm telling you, don't go to the equipment room alone, especially not after dark. Why, what happened? Just don't. Okay, trust me. Did someone... I said don't, and don't ask questions either. That makes it worse. The door clicked shut. Maya stood motionless for a long moment. Then she walked to her assigned room, unlocked the door, and stepped inside. The space was exactly what she expected. Single bed, metal desk, small bathroom. No personality, no warmth. The kind of room where people passed through without leaving traces. She set her duffel on the bed and unzipped it slowly. Beneath the folded uniforms and toiletries, her fingers found what she was looking for. A sealed black envelope. She didn't open it. She didn't need to. She'd memorized the contents before leaving Washington. Immediate action authorized in event of climate incident. Chain of command bypass permitted. Special Operations Oversight Division. Classification Tango 5. Maya Chen wasn't here to evaluate marksmanship. She was here to hunt, and the predators didn't even know they were already in her crosshairs. The morning briefing started at 0600, and Maya arrived at 0545. She took a position at the back of the room, half hidden in shadow, her notepad open but empty. The other personnel filtered in gradually, coffee cups in hand, conversations overlapping. She watched them the way a sniper watches a target zone, not looking for immediate threats, looking for patterns, movement, behavior that didn't match the environment. Within 10 minutes, she found what she was looking for. 4 men entered together, moving with the easy confidence of people who owned the space around them. They didn't walk. They claimed. Every step said, "This is ours," and everyone in their path adjusted accordingly. The tallest one led the group, mid-30s, square jaw, the kind of handsome that photographed well and hid everything ugly underneath. His uniform was perfect pressed sharp ribbons, aligned with mathematical precision. Master Sergeant Cole Harrigan. Maya recognized him from his service record. 3 combat tours in Afghanistan, Bronze Star with Valor, Distinguished Marksmanship Badge. The kind of credentials that built walls around a man and made people afraid to look behind them. Behind him walked a broader figure, Staff Sergeant Brett Kessler, muscle where Harrigan had charm, the enforcer. His eyes swept the room the same way Maya's had swept the base perimeter, marking threats, cataloging weaknesses. Third in line was younger early 20s with a phone that never left his hand. Corporal Danny Vickers. He photographed everything. The coffee station, the briefing board, 2 female soldiers who walked past without noticing the angle of his camera. Maya noticed. The 4th was barely more than a boy. Private First Class Tyler Marsh. Nervous energy. Eager eyes that followed Harrigan's every move, desperate for approval. They took seats in the front row, spreading out in a way that marked territory rather than seeking optimal positioning. The briefing officer cleared his throat and began speaking, but Maya wasn't listening to him. She was watching the room respond to Harrigan's presence. The male soldiers relaxed, nodded, made eye contact, and got it returned. The female soldiers didn't. They contracted. Shoulders pulled in, eyes down. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. One specialist sitting 3 rows from Harrigan shifted her chair 6 inches to the left, creating distance she probably couldn't even explain if asked. Maya catalogued every reaction. The briefing droned on. Training schedules, qualification requirements, safety protocols that everyone had heard 100 times and no one actually followed. Then Harrigan stood. "Before we break," he said, his voice carrying without effort, "I want to welcome our guest evaluator, Miss Chen, right from the Marksmanship Standards Office." Maya felt every eye in the room turn toward her. "Specialist Chen," she corrected, stepping forward just enough to be visible. "Naval Special Warfare Assessment." Harrigan's smile didn't flicker, but something behind his eyes did. A quick calculation. A reassessment. Naval. Interesting. We don't get many Navy personnel out here. This is Army country. Marksmanship doesn't care about branches, Master Sergeant. A few soldiers chuckled. Harrigan's smile widened, but it didn't reach his eyes. "No, I suppose it doesn't. Well, welcome to Fort Ridgeline. I hope you find everything to your satisfaction." "I'm sure I'll find exactly what I'm looking for." The words hung in the air just long enough to matter. Harrigan held her gaze for a beat too long, then turned back to the room. Dismissed. The soldiers filed out conversations, resuming the moment already forgotten by everyone except Maya and the 4 men who hadn't stopped watching her. She gathered her notepad and walked toward the door, passing within 3 feet of Harrigan's group. Kessler blocked her path. Not aggressively. Casually. The way a man blocks a door without admitting he's blocking it. "Need something, specialist?" "Just heading to the range," Maya said, her voice flat. "Range opens in 30 minutes. No rush." "I like to be early." Kessler didn't move. Behind him, Vickers raised his phone slightly, the camera angle catching Maya's face. She turned directly toward the lens and smiled. Cold. Deliberate. Vickers lowered the phone. "Excuse me, Staff Sergeant." Kessler stepped aside, but his eyes followed her all the way down the corridor. Behind her, she heard Harrigan's voice, low, but not low enough. "Find out everything about her. Everything." Maya kept walking. Let them look. Let them dig. They wouldn't find anything they weren't supposed to find. Her real record was buried so deep that only 3 people in Washington knew it existed. She was a ghost, wearing a uniform. And ghosts were very good at watching people who thought no one was watching. The rifle range at Fort Ridgeline stretched across half a mile of cleared terrain target stations, positioned at graduated distances from 100 meters to 1,500. Maya arrived as the morning fog was still lifting the air, carrying the sharp bite of gunpowder residue that never fully dissipated from facilities like this. A handful of trainees were already present, setting up stations, checking equipment. Most of them barely glanced at her. The evaluator. The outsider. Nobody important. She found a position near the observation platform and began her own evaluation. Not of marksmanship, of behavior. The trainees moved in predictable patterns. Male soldiers clustered in groups, joking, competitive. Female soldiers worked in pairs or alone, efficient, focused, and noticeably quieter. One young woman caught Maya's attention immediately. Private Jessica Torres, 19 years old. According to the records Maya had studied on the flight, Torres had scored in the top 5% of her initial marksmanship qualification. 3 months into training at Fort Ridgeline, her scores had dropped to barely passing. No explanation. No documented issues. Just a sudden dramatic decline that made no sense unless you understood what really caused it. Torres was setting up her station at the 500-meter line, hands steady, but shoulders tight. Every few seconds, her eyes darted toward the equipment building at the edge of the range. Maya watched her for a full minute before approaching. "Private Torres." The girl flinched. Actually, flinched. Then recovered, straightening into something approximating attention. "Ma'am, sorry I didn't see you. At ease. I'm just observing today." Torres nodded, but the tension didn't leave her body. Her eyes kept moving, checking the perimeter. "Your qualification scores are interesting," Maya said, keeping her voice neutral. "Strong start? Recent decline? Anything affecting your performance, I should note, for my evaluation." The question was a test. Maya knew it. Torres probably knew it too. The girl's jaw tightened. "No, ma'am. Just need more practice." Practice doesn't usually make someone worse. Torres was quiet for a long moment. Her fingers tightened on the rifle stock she was holding. "Permission to speak freely, ma'am?" "Granted. With respect, evaluators come and go. They write reports. Reports get filed. Nothing changes." Torres met her eyes for the first time. "Are you actually going to change anything?" Maya didn't answer immediately. She let the silence stretch, let the question sit between them like a loaded weapon. "That depends on what needs changing." Torres laughed. It was bitter humorless, the sound of someone who had stopped believing in help. "Ask the other girls who used to train here." "Oh, wait. You can't. They all got transferred." She turned back to her equipment conversation over. Maya didn't push. Not yet. Pushing too hard too early would close doors she needed open. Instead, she moved down the range line, watching, listening. The morning progressed. Shots cracked across the firing zone. Instructors called adjustments. Scores were recorded. Harrigan appeared around 0900, walking the line with Kessler at his side. They moved like inspectors, pausing at each station, offering corrections that always seemed to require physical positioning adjustments. With male trainees, the adjustments were verbal, distance maintained. With female trainees, the adjustments required hands. A grip moved here. A shoulder pressed there. Touches that lingered half a second too long and couldn't be proven inappropriate in any single instance. Maya watched a female corporal freeze when Harrigan stepped behind her, his hands on her shoulders, his voice low in her ear. Whatever he said made her nod rapidly and miss her next 3 shots. Harrigan stepped back, shaking his head like a disappointed teacher. "Focus, Corporal. You'll never qualify at this rate." The corporal said nothing, just stared at her rifle like it might save her from something. It wouldn't. Maya made a note. Not on paper. Paper could be found. She made it in her memory, filed alongside 100 other observations that were building toward something Harrigan couldn't see coming. Around noon, she walked the perimeter of the range complex, mapping camera positions. 7 cameras total. 3 non-functional, their indicator lights dead. 2 angled to cover the firing lines, but missing the equipment building entirely. 1 covering the main entrance. 1 covering nothing at all, mounted but pointed at the sky like someone had deliberately adjusted it. She found the equipment building next. Concrete block structure. Heavy door. No windows. The kind of space designed for secure storage. The kind of space designed for privacy. A maintenance sign on the door read, "Restricted access. Authorized personnel only." Maya tried the handle. Locked. She made another note. Then she heard footsteps behind her. Lost. Harrigan's voice was smooth, friendly, carrying a threat so subtle most people would miss it entirely. Maya turned slowly. "Just getting familiar with the facility. Equipment rooms off limits to visiting personnel. Security protocols." "Of course. My mistake." Harrigan stepped closer, close enough that she could smell his aftershave, close enough that his height advantage became obvious. "How long are you planning to stay at Fort Ridgeline Specialist?" "As long as my evaluation requires." "And what exactly are you evaluating?" Maya smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. "Marksmanship, Master Sergeant. What else would I be evaluating?" He studied her face the way she'd seen him study targets, looking for weakness, looking for fear. He found neither. "Right. Well, let me know if you need anything. My team is here to help." "I'm sure you are." She walked away, feeling his eyes on her back the entire way. The game had begun, and Harrigan had no idea he was already losing. That evening, Maya set up her laptop in her quarters and began pulling files. Transfer records, counseling reports, anonymous complaints that had been logged and ignored, performance evaluations that showed sudden, unexplained declines. The pattern was consistent. Damning. Every woman who had been assigned to Harrigan's training unit showed the same trajectory: strong initial performance, gradual isolation, declining scores, eventual transfer request citing vague, personal reasons. 3 in 6 months, 7 in 2 years, 12 since Harrigan had taken over the program. Maya cross-referenced the timeline with complaint logs. Most women never filed official reports. Those who did were assigned to a single administrative NCO for processing: Staff Sergeant Marcus Webb. Every complaint that reached Webb's desk was marked "Resolved, insufficient evidence within 72 hours. No follow-up interviews, no witness statements, no investigation." Webb had been Harrigan's bunkmate during their first deployment. The system wasn't broken. It was designed this way. Maya opened a secure communication channel and typed a brief message to Washington. "Pattern confirmed. Proceeding with Phase 2. The response came in under a minute. "Authorization granted. Document everything. Extract if necessary." She closed the laptop and sat in the darkness of her room thinking. 12 women. Minimum. Probably more who never said anything, who left the service entirely rather than fight a system rigged against them. 12 women who had volunteered to serve their country and been preyed upon by the men who were supposed to train them. Maya had read their faces in the files. Young. Eager. The kind of women who believed in honor and duty and earned respect. The kind of women who learned too late that some men didn't care about any of those things. She thought about Jessica Torres. The bitter laugh. The question that wasn't really a question. "Are you actually going to change anything?" Maya stood and walked to her duffel bag. She unzipped a hidden compartment and removed a small black case. Inside, a personal recording device. Military grade. Undetectable by standard scanning equipment. She attached it inside her uniform collar, invisible unless you knew exactly where to look. Yes, she thought. I'm going to change everything. And tomorrow the real hunt would begin. Day 2 started with an announcement that would accelerate Maya's timeline. The base-wide intercom crackled at 0500. All sniper training personnel report to Range Complex Alpha at 0600 for special qualification exercise. Full combat loadout. No exceptions. Maya dressed quickly and made her way to the range before most of the other soldiers had finished breakfast. The exercise was a tactical competition. 3-person teams, timed scenarios, scored accuracy at multiple distances under simulated combat stress. Harrigan stood at the center of the assembly area, flanked by Kessler and Vickers. "Listen up," he announced. "Today separates the shooters from the pretenders. Top 3 teams get Liberty passes. Bottom 3 get remedial training with me personally." Maya watched the female trainees' reactions. Several of them went pale. Remedial training with Harrigan. Alone. After hours. The threat was obvious to anyone who knew the code. Teams will be assigned randomly, Harrigan continued. No complaints, no trades. You work with who you're assigned. He began reading names. Maya noted that female soldiers were consistently paired with Harrigan's known associates, never grouped together, always isolated. Torres Chen and Marsh, Team 7. Maya felt a flicker of something that might have been satisfaction. She'd been assigned to Torres. And Marsh, the nervous young follower from Harrigan's inner circle. Interesting. They gathered at their designated staging area. Torres looked surprised to see Maya. You're competing. I'm evaluating. Best way to evaluate is from inside the exercise. Marsh shifted nervously, his eyes avoiding both of them. We should focus. I don't want to end up in remedial. Torres's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. The exercise began. Stage 1 was a standard qualification shoot. 50 targets at ranges from 100 to 800 meters. Timed. Scored. Maya took her position and settled behind her rifle. The first target appeared at 200 meters. She exhaled slowly, squeezed the trigger. Hit. Center mass. 300 meters. Hit. 400. Hit. She moved through the first 8 targets with mechanical precision, every shot landing within the kill zone. Torres shot next. Her hands were steady, her technique solid. 7 of 8 hits. Good scores despite whatever was eating at her from the inside. Marsh performed adequately. 6 of 8. Nervous but competent. They moved to stage 2. Moving targets. Elevation changes. Wind adjustments. Maya adapted without thinking, her body remembering years of training that went far beyond anything taught at Fort Ridgeline. She hit targets that made the scoring NCO double-check his tablet. She hit targets that other teams missed entirely. She hit a moving target at 700 meters that even Harrigan paused to watch. By stage 3, word had spread across the range. Who is she? Some evaluator from Navy. Navy doesn't shoot like that. She just hit 800 meters offhand. Who the hell shoots 800 offhand? Maya heard the whispers and ignored them. She was here to establish credibility, to make them respect her enough to underestimate her differently. The final stage was the longest shot, 1,200 meters, single target, 5-second exposure window. Most teams didn't even attempt it. The distance was at the edge of the rifle's effective range. Wind was unpredictable. The target appeared and disappeared before most shooters could even acquire it. Torres looked through her scope and shook her head. I can't make that shot. Not consistently. Marsh didn't even raise his rifle. Me neither. Maya settled into position. I can. The countdown began. 10 seconds. She controlled her breathing. Heart rate dropping, vision narrowing to a single point of focus 1,200 meters away. 5 seconds. The target emerged from cover. A silhouette. Man-sized. Moving laterally. 3 seconds. She led the target. Calculated the drop. Felt the wind on her cheek and adjusted by instinct. 1 second. She fired. The round traveled for nearly 2 full seconds before impact. Then the target shattered. The range went silent. Maya stood, brushed the dust from her uniform, and walked back to the staging area without expression. Behind her, she heard Harrigan's voice low and dangerous. Where did you say she came from? Kessler answered. Washington, Marksmanship Standards Office. Pull everything you can find on her. Tonight. Maya smiled just slightly, where no one could see. They were finally paying attention. Now the real game could begin. The scores posted an hour later. Team 7 first place. Maya's individual score was the highest recorded at Fort Ridgeline in 6 years, higher than Harrigan's personal record. She felt the shift in the atmosphere as the results circulated. The male soldiers looked at her differently now. Not with respect exactly, but with the wary acknowledgement that predators give to other predators. The female soldiers looked at her differently too, with something that might have been hope. Harrigan approached her outside the scoring tent, his face arranged in professional congratulations that didn't quite hide the calculation underneath. "Impressive shooting, Specialist Chen." "Thank you, Master Sergeant." "You've got real talent. Where did you train?" "Various locations." "That's not an answer." Maya met his eyes. "It's the only one I'm authorized to give." He laughed, but it was thin, forced. "Mysterious. I like that. Listen, I'd love to discuss technique with you sometime. I run a small shooting clinic for advanced personnel, after hours, invitation only." The offer hung in the air, wrapped in professional language, hiding everything it actually meant. "I appreciate the offer," Maya said. "I'll consider it." "You should. Not many people get invited. It's a good opportunity to learn from the best." "I'm sure it is." She walked away before he could respond, feeling his anger radiate behind her like heat from a furnace. She'd just declined him. In public, where others could see. Men like Harrigan didn't forget things like that. They corrected them. That night, Torres found Maya in the chow hall, sitting alone in a corner table. "Can I sit?" Maya nodded. Torres sat down her tray, untouched her eyes, carrying something that looked like desperation, finally finding a target. "That shot today, 1,200 meters. "What about it? Where did you really learn to shoot like that?" Maya was quiet for a moment, calculating. Then she made a decision. "Places that don't exist on official records." Torres leaned forward. "You're not just an evaluator, are you?" "I'm exactly what I'm supposed to be." "That's not an answer either." Maya almost smiled. "No, it's not." They sat in silence for a long moment. Around them, the chow hall buzzed with conversation soldiers unwinding after the day's competition. Finally, Torres spoke again, her voice barely audible. "He did it to me, Harrigan, 3 months ago." Maya didn't react visibly, but something inside her locked into place like a rifle bolt seating. "Tell me." "Equipment room. After hours. Said he wanted to work on my trigger technique. I believed him. I was stupid." "You weren't stupid. You were targeted." Torres's eyes glistened, but no tears fell. She'd probably cried them all out months ago. He didn't finish. Someone came to the door, but he said if I told anyone he'd make sure I never qualified. Said he'd make sure everyone knew I was unstable. Said he'd done it before and the others learned to keep quiet. Maya's voice was very soft. "The others who transferred?" "Yeah." "How many?" "That I know about 4. But there's rumors about more. Girls who didn't just transfer. Girls who left the army entirely. Girls who—" Torres stopped. "There's a rumor about one who tried to hurt herself. But I don't know if that's true." Maya absorbed the information, filing each piece into the case she was building. "Why are you telling me this?" Torres looked at her with something that might have been faith, or might have been desperation. "Because you shot 1,200 meters like it was nothing. Because you looked at him like you weren't afraid. Because you're the first person I've seen here who might actually be able to do something." Maya was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "There's a recording device in my collar. Everything you just told me is documented, time-stamped, secured on a remote server that can't be erased." Torres's face went pale. "You're wearing a wire?" Not against you. For you. Everything Harrigan has said to me is recorded. Everything I observe is recorded. When I leave this base, I'm taking evidence that will end careers and potentially send people to prison. Torres stared at her. Who are you? Maya reached into her pocket and produced a credential wallet. She opened it just enough for Torres to see the gold seal and the authorization code. I'm the person who's going to burn this whole thing down, and I need your help to do it right. Torres looked at the credential, then at Maya's face. What do you need? Names, dates, anyone else who might talk. And one more thing. What? Maya closed the wallet and leaned forward. I need you to trust me when things get worse before they get better. Because tomorrow night I'm going to let them think they've cornered me, and I need you to not interfere no matter what you hear. Torres's face showed confusion, then understanding, then fear. You're going to let them... I'm going to let them show exactly who they are. On camera, on record, with evidence so clear that no administrative NCO can make it disappear. Torres swallowed hard. That's insane. No, Maya said. That's how you bring down a system that's learned how to hide. You don't just catch the predators. You catch the machine that protects them. She stood tray in hand. Get me those names by tomorrow afternoon. And Jessica. Torres looked up. When this is over, you're going to finish your training with the scores you actually earned. I promise you that. Maya walked away, leaving Torres sitting alone with the weight of everything that was about to happen. The trap was almost set. And Harrigan had no idea he was walking straight into it. Torres delivered the names the next morning. She found Maya behind the maintenance building during the 0600 smoke break, when most soldiers were either in the chow hall or still in their bunks. Her hands trembled as she passed over a folded piece of paper. 7 names, Torres whispered. 4 are still on base. 3 transferred out, but I have contact information for 2 of them. The 3rd, nobody knows where she went. Maya unfolded the paper and scanned the names. 7 women. 7 stories. 7 pieces of evidence that would bury Harrigan and everyone who protected him. The one nobody can find. What happened to her? Torres's jaw tightened. Specialist Amanda Reyes. She was here 8 months ago, top of her class just like me. Then she got assigned to Harrigan's advanced clinic. 3 weeks later, she requested emergency transfer. They denied it. 2 days after the denial, she walked off base and never came back. AWOL. That's what they called it. But her roommate told me she left a note. Said she couldn't take it anymore. Said nobody would believe her anyway. Maya folded the paper and slipped it into her pocket. Her roommate. Is she still here? Corporal Denise Warren. She's on the list, 3rd name down. I need to talk to her today. Torres nodded, then hesitated. There's something else. Something I didn't want to put in writing. Tell me. Vickers. The one with the phone. He doesn't just record for himself. He shares it. There's a group chat. They call it the trophy case. Screenshots, videos, rankings. They bet on who can get the furthest with new female arrivals. Maya's expression didn't change, but something behind her eyes went very cold. How do you know about the chat? Marsh showed me. The young one. He was drunk one night trying to impress me. Thought I'd think it was funny. Pulled up his phone and showed me the whole thing before he realized what he was doing. Next morning he begged me not to say anything. Said Harrigan would kill him if he found out Marsh had shown an outsider. Marsh showed you the chat? Yeah. Maya filed that information away. Marsh was the weak link. Nervous. Desperate to belong. The kind of follower who might flip if the pressure got high enough. You did good, Jessica. Now I need you to do one more thing. What? Stay away from me for the rest of the day. Don't talk to me. Don't look at me. If anyone asks about our conversation in the chow hall, tell them I was asking about training schedules. Nothing more. Torres frowned. Why? Because tonight I'm going to put myself somewhere they can find me alone. And if they think you're connected to me, they might change their plans. You're really going through with this. I'm really going through with this. Torres looked at her for a long moment, something like awe mixed with fear in her eyes. You're either the bravest person I've ever met or the craziest. Maya almost smiled. Maybe both. She walked away before Torres could respond, already planning her next move. The day passed in calculated normalcy. Maya attended the morning briefing. She observed training exercises. She took notes that meant nothing and asked questions that led nowhere. To anyone watching, she was exactly what she appeared to be. A bureaucrat with a clipboard killing time until her evaluation period ended. But she was watching everything. She watched Harrigan pull a female trainee aside after a qualifying round and whisper something that made the woman's face go pale. She watched Kessler block a corridor when two female soldiers tried to pass, forcing them to squeeze by him close enough to touch. She watched Vickers photograph a woman bending over to tie her boot. His phone angle deliberate, his smirk undisguised. She watched Marsh watch all of it, his face a mask of discomfort that never quite became objection. At 1400 hours, she found Corporal Denise Warren. Warren was in the motor pool inventorying equipment with the focused intensity of someone who had learned to stay busy, to stay invisible. She was mid-20s athletic build, the kind of soldier who had probably joined with dreams of proving herself and found something very different instead. Maya approached without announcement. Corporal Warren. Warren looked up, her expression guarded. Yes, ma'am. I'm Specialist Chen, marksmanship evaluator. I know who you are. Everyone knows after yesterday. I need to ask you about Amanda Reyes. The change in Warren was immediate. Her face went blank. Her hands stopped moving. Her entire body seemed to contract inward like a turtle retreating into its shell. I don't know anything about that. You were her roommate. I don't know anything. She left a note. You read it. Warren's eyes darted around the motor pool, checking for observers. Who told you that? It doesn't matter who told me. What matters is what the note said. I can't talk about this. Can't or won't. Warren's jaw trembled. For a moment, Maya thought she might cry. Then something harder surfaced, the brittleness of someone who had been broken and reassembled without all the pieces. Both. Look, I tried to report it. After she left, I went to Sergeant Webb in admin and told him everything. Know what he did? He told me Amanda was unstable. Told me she had a history of making false accusations. Told me I should be careful about associating myself with someone like her. He threatened you. He didn't have to threaten me. He made it clear. If I pushed, I'd be next. Not for what Harrigan would do, for what the system would do. They'd find something wrong with my record. My scores would drop. I'd get transferred somewhere worse or pushed out entirely. Maya let the silence stretch. Warren needed to talk. She just needed permission. What did the note say? Warren closed her eyes. When she opened them, they were wet. She said she was sorry. She said she tried to be strong, but she couldn't do it anymore. She said nobody would believe her because he was a hero, and she was nobody. She said the system was designed to protect men like him and destroy women like her. Warren's voice cracked. She said she hoped someone would burn it all down someday, but she couldn't be the one to do it. Maya reached out and touched Warren's arm. Not comfort. Confirmation. Someone will. Warren looked at her, really looked at her for the first time. Who are you, really? Someone Amanda Reyes would have wanted to meet. She left Warren standing in the motor pool, the weight of that promise hanging between them. By 1700 hours, Maya had spoken to 2 more women on the list. The stories were variations on a theme: isolation, pressure, touches that couldn't be proven, threats that never left evidence. A system that consistently sided with the predators and punished anyone who tried to resist. Each conversation strengthened Maya's resolve. Each story added fuel to the fire she was about to light. At 1900 hours, she returned to her quarters and prepared. She checked the recording device in her collar. Fully charged. Transmitting to a secure satellite uplink that couldn't be jammed or intercepted. She reviewed her physical readiness. Heart rate steady. Muscles loose. Mind clear. She thought about the 1,200-meter shot, about the focus required to hit a moving target at the edge of possibility. Tonight would require a different kind of precision. At 2100, she changed into PT clothes and grabbed her laundry bag. The corridor outside her room was quiet. Most soldiers were in the recreation building or already in their bunks. The annex felt emptier than usual, the silence pressing against her ears like pressure before a storm. She walked toward the laundry room at the far end of the building, her footsteps deliberately audible. Let them hear her coming. Let them think she was careless. She passed the equipment storage room. The door was slightly ajar, light spilling through the crack. Inside, she heard voices. Low. Waiting. Maya kept walking. She reached the laundry room, loaded her clothes into a washer, started the cycle. Normal movements, routine behavior. Then she heard footsteps behind her. She turned slowly. Harrigan stood in the doorway, his silhouette blocking most of the light from the corridor. Behind him, she could see Kessler and Vickers approaching. "Working late Specialist Chen." His voice was friendly. His eyes were not. "Laundry doesn't do itself, Master Sergeant." "No, I suppose it doesn't." He stepped into the room. Kessler followed, positioning himself near the second exit. Vickers stayed in the doorway, phone already in hand. 3 entry points covered. Classic containment pattern. Maya noted it all without reaction. "We've been meaning to talk to you," Harrigan continued, "about your performance yesterday. That 1,200-meter shot was impressive." "Thank you." "Very impressive. Almost too impressive for someone from a marksmanship standards office. Good training." "See, that's the thing." Harrigan moved closer. "I've been in this game a long time. I know what standard training looks like. That shot wasn't standard. That shot was special operations. That shot was Tier 1. Maya said nothing. "So I did some digging. Called in some favors. You know what I found? Enlighten me." Harrigan's smile widened. "Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Your file is clean. Too clean. The kind of clean that only happens when someone has something to hide. Or the kind of clean that happens when someone is exactly what they claim to be." "No." He was close now. Close enough that she could smell his aftershave, the same scent from their first meeting. "You're hiding something, and I'm going to find out what." Maya met his eyes. "Is that a threat, Master Sergeant? It's a promise." Kessler moved behind her, cutting off retreat. Vickers raised his phone, the red recording light visible in the dim room. Maya felt her heart rate slow, her vision sharpen. The familiar calm that came before action. "You know what I think," Harrigan continued. "I think you're not here to evaluate marksmanship at all. I think someone sent you to cause trouble, and I don't like trouble." "What are you going to do about it?" He reached out and touched her face. Gentle, almost tender. The gesture of a man who had done this before and never faced consequences. I'm going to teach you the same lesson I've taught every other woman who thought she could come into my house and tell me how to run things." Maya didn't pull away. She let his hand rest against her cheek, let him feel the control he thought he had. "And what lesson is that? That this is my base, my rules, my system." His hand slid down to her throat, not squeezing, just resting there. Possessive. And women who don't learn their place get educated until they do. Behind her, Kessler laughed. Vickers adjusted his phone angle. Harrigan leaned closer, his breath hot against her ear. "So what's it going to be? Specialist, you going to be smart? Or you going to be another cautionary tale that nobody believes?" Maya waited. Let him think he had her. Let the recording capture every word, every touch, every threat. Then she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "There's something you should know, Master Sergeant." "What's that?" "My name isn't Chen. It's classified. My unit isn't marksmanship standards. It's Naval Special Warfare Development Group. And everything you've said and done in the last 3 minutes has been transmitted to a secure server that you can't access, alter, or delete." Harrigan's hand froze. "You're lying." "Am I?" "Check Vickers' phone. See if he can find my transmission signal." Vickers looked at his screen, his face going pale. "Cole, there's an encrypted outbound signal. I can't block it." Harrigan's hand tightened on her throat. "Who sent you? People who got tired of women disappearing from this base and nobody asking questions. You think a recording matters? You think anyone's going to believe some bitch with a wire over a decorated combat veteran?" Maya smiled. It was the smile of someone who had already won and was just waiting for everyone else to realize it. "I think 12 women are going to testify against you. I think Amanda Reyes left a note that your administrative friend tried to bury. I think Marsh is going to flip the moment he realizes prison is on the table. And I think your trophy case group chat is going to look really interesting to a military prosecutor." Harrigan's face went white. "How do you know about—" "I know everything, Master Sergeant. I know what you did to Jessica Torres. I know what you did to Denise Warren's roommate. I know about every woman you've broken, and every complaint that got filed and ignored. And by tomorrow morning, so will everyone else." He squeezed her throat harder, genuine rage replacing calculated intimidation. "You think you can take me down? I've survived 3 investigations. I have friends in places you can't even imagine." "Your friends can't help you anymore." Maya moved. It was fast. Faster than any of them expected. Faster than combat training prepared for. Her hand came up under Harrigan's wrist, breaking his grip on her throat. Her body rotated, using his own momentum to drive him off balance. Her elbow connected with his solar plexus, driving the air from his lungs. He crumpled. Kessler lunged forward, reaching for her arm. Maya pivoted, caught his wrist twisted. The joint lock forced him to his knees, his face contorted in agony. "Don't," she said. He didn't. Vickers dropped his phone and raised his hands. "I didn't touch her. I didn't do anything. You were just documenting sexual assault for your entertainment and sharing it with your friends. That's conspiracy and distribution of illegal material. Minimum 5 years." Vickers started to cry. Harrigan pushed himself up from the floor, his face twisted with fury. "This isn't over." "You're right, it's not." Maya produced her credential wallet and held it up. "Commander Maya Chen, United States Navy Special Operations Oversight Division, clearance code Tango 5, and you, Master Sergeant Cole Harrigan, are under detention pending court-martial for violations of Articles 120, 128, and 134 of the Uniform Code of Military Justice." She activated the communication device in her pocket. "This is Commander Chen. Target package confirmed. Request immediate security response to Lodging Annex B, Laundry Facility." Within seconds, she heard footsteps in the corridor. Running. Multiple sets. Harrigan made one last, desperate move. He lunged for her hands, reaching for her throat, all pretense of control abandoned. Maya sidestepped, caught his arm, and used his momentum to drive him face first into the washing machine. The impact rang through the room like a bell. He slid to the floor, blood streaming from his nose, and didn't get up. Security personnel burst through the door. Military police. Armed. Professional. Commander Chen. All 3 detained. Evidence secured. We have additional targets on base who need to be collected before they can communicate. The lead MP nodded. We have teams moving on the others now. Marsh is already in custody. He's talking. Maya looked down at Harrigan, who was staring up at her with the bewildered expression of a man whose entire world had just collapsed. He's not the only one who will be. She stepped over his body and walked out of the laundry room, leaving the MPs to handle the cleanup. In the corridor, Torres stood frozen, her face pale, her hands shaking. I thought, I told you to stay away. I couldn't. I was afraid they'd... Maya touched her shoulder. It's over, Jessica. For all of you. It's over. Torres began to cry. Not sad tears. Release. The kind of tears that came when a weight you'd carried so long you'd forgotten what lightness felt like finally lifted. Maya held her for a moment, then stepped back. There's going to be a lot of questions. Interviews, testimony. It's going to be hard, but you won't be alone. None of you will be alone. Torres wiped her eyes and straightened. The broken girl who had laughed bitterly in the chow hall was already fading. Something stronger was emerging in her place. What happens now? Maya looked down the corridor where MPs were leading Harrigan away in restraints, his perfect uniform stained with blood, his decorated career ending in disgrace. Now we burn it all down. And for the first time since arriving at Fort Ridgeline, Maya allowed herself to smile. Not in triumph, in promise. The system that protected monsters was about to learn what happened when the monster's victims finally found their champion. And the fire was just beginning. The detention cells at Fort Ridgeline weren't built for high-profile prisoners. They were holding areas, temporary spaces designed for drunk and disorderly conduct or minor disciplinary infractions. But tonight they held 4 men who had never imagined they'd see the inside of one. Maya stood outside the cell block at 0200 reading the preliminary reports that had already started flowing in. Marsh had broken within the first hour. The moment the MPs mentioned federal charges, he'd started talking so fast, the recording officer had to ask him to slow down. He gave them everything. The trophy case chat. The betting system. The names of every woman Harrigan had targeted. The locations where attacks had occurred. The administrative channels that had been corrupted to suppress complaints. He even gave them the password to Vickers' cloud backup, where 2 years of photographs and videos had been stored like trophies in a hunter's den. Vickers hadn't talked yet, but he hadn't needed to. His phone contained enough evidence to end careers and start criminal proceedings. The military prosecutor who'd been flown in from Washington had called it the most comprehensive self-documentation of criminal behavior he'd ever seen. Kessler had requested a lawyer and gone silent. Harrigan had done something worse. He'd smiled. Maya found that detail in the MP's incident report. When informed of the charges against him, Harrigan had smiled and said 7 words that made her blood run cold. "You have no idea who you're fighting." She'd seen that kind of confidence before. In men who had protectors. In men who had leverage. In men who had spent years building systems specifically designed to shield them from consequences. Harrigan wasn't worried. That worried her. At 0300, Maya's secure communication device buzzed with an incoming message from Washington. Complication detected. Senator Harrison Wentworth has contacted Base Command. Claims Harrigan is essential witness in ongoing classified operation, requesting immediate release. Maya read the message twice, her jaw tightening. Senator Harrison Wentworth, Chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee, one of the most powerful politicians in Washington. And according to the background files Maya had memorized before this mission, Wentworth's daughter had been married to Cole Harrigan for 3 years before their quiet divorce. The connection was buried deep, but it was there. Harrigan had protectors in high places, very high places. Maya typed a response. Evidence is secure and transmitted. Multiple witness statements recorded. Prosecution cannot be blocked without exposing cover-up attempt. Recommend proceeding as planned. The reply came quickly. Understood. But be advised. Wentworth has significant influence over military appointments and budgets. He could make this very difficult for everyone involved, including you. Maya stared at the screen for a long moment. Then she typed 3 words. Let him try. By 0600, the base was awake and buzzing with rumors. 4 arrests overnight. Master Sergeant Harrigan in detention, something about an investigation, something about women, something about a Navy officer who had taken down 3 men in a laundry room without breaking a sweat. Maya could feel the eyes on her as she walked to the command building for the morning briefing. Some hostile, some curious, some grateful. The female soldiers looked at her differently than they had 2 days ago. There was recognition in their faces now. Hope. The dangerous kind of hope that came when someone finally stood up and didn't get knocked back down. She reached the command building and found Colonel Patricia Webb waiting outside. Webb was the base's second-in-command, a career officer with 30 years of service and a reputation for doing things by the book. She was also the only female officer in the base leadership structure. Commander Chen. Colonel Webb, we need to talk. Privately. They walked to Webb's office, a small space crammed with files and commendations, and the accumulated debris of 3 decades in uniform. Webb closed the door and turned to face Maya. I've been on this base for 4 years. 4 years of watching Harrigan operate. 4 years of seeing complaints disappear. 4 years of watching good soldiers get broken or transferred while that man got promoted. Maya said nothing. She let Webb talk. I tried to report it. 3 times. First time I was told I didn't have sufficient evidence. Second time I was told Harrigan was too valuable to the training program. Third time I was transferred to a desk position and warned that my career would end if I pursued it further. Webb's voice cracked, but she held herself together. Do you know what it's like to watch women get destroyed and know you can't do anything to stop it? I know exactly what it's like. Webb studied her face. That's why they sent you. Not some administrative evaluator, someone who could actually do something. Yes. What do you need from me? Maya pulled a folded paper from her pocket. The list Torres had given her. I need access to these personnel files. I need their transfer records. I need the original complaint documents before they were altered or destroyed. And I need you to contact Amanda Reyes. Webb's expression shifted. Reyes, she's been AWOL for 8 months. Nobody knows where she is. You know. The silence stretched between them. Webb closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, they were wet. She contacted me 6 weeks ago. Email from an anonymous account. She said she was safe. She said she was getting help. She said she'd testify if anyone ever actually tried to prosecute. Where is she? Seattle, living with her sister. She changed her name, but she's there. Maya nodded. I need to talk to her. Today. I can arrange a secure call. But Commander, there's something you should know. What? Webb walked to her desk and pulled a file from a locked drawer. She handed it to Maya. This came through channels this morning. Senator Wentworth has formally requested that all evidence in the Harrigan case be classified under national security protocols. He's claiming Harrigan has information related to ongoing counterterrorism operations that cannot be exposed in open court. Maya opened the file and scanned the document. Her face remained calm, but her mind was racing. This is a cover-up attempt, plain and simple. I know. The evidence I collected is already secured on external servers. They can't classify what's already been transmitted. They can try to block its use in prosecution. They can claim it was obtained illegally. They can tie this up in legal challenges for years. Maya set the file down. Then we need to move faster than they expect. How? By making this public before they can suppress it. Webb's face went pale. Going public with military sexual assault cases without authorization is a career-ending move. For you, maybe. I don't have a career to end. I have a mission. And that mission is to make sure Harrigan and everyone who protected him faces justice. She stood. Set up the call with Amanda Reyes. I'll handle the rest. The call connected at 0900. Amanda Reyes appeared on the secure video link, looking nothing like her service photograph. Her hair was longer, darker. She'd lost weight. Her eyes carried the hollow distance of someone who had survived something that should have destroyed her. You're the one who arrested Harrigan? Maya nodded. I'm the one. They said it couldn't be done. They said he was untouchable. Nobody's untouchable when the evidence is strong enough. Amanda laughed, but it was bitter, broken. Evidence. I had evidence. My own testimony. Medical records. A witness who heard him threaten me. You know what they did with my evidence. They buried it. They didn't just bury it. They used it against me. Said I was unstable. Said I had a history of exaggerating. Said I was trying to destroy a decorated soldier's career because he rejected my advances. Her voice rose with each sentence, years of suppressed rage finally finding an outlet. They made me the villain. They made me disappear. And now you want me to come back and do what trust the same system that destroyed me? Maya leaned forward. I'm not asking you to trust the system. I'm asking you to help me burn it down. Amanda went silent. Senator Wentworth is trying to classify the evidence. He's going to claim national security. He's going to bury this the same way they buried you, unless we make it impossible to bury. How? By going public. All of it. Every name, every complaint, every piece of evidence that shows how the system protected predators and punished victims. If it's public, they can't classify it. If it's public, they can't make it disappear. Amanda's face changed. The hollowness in her eyes shifted, replaced by something harder. You want me to testify publicly? I want you to tell your story. On record. To journalists, investigators, whoever will listen. I want you to show the world what happens when good soldiers report crimes and bad systems protect criminals. They'll destroy me. They already tried. You're still here. The silence stretched. Maya could see the war happening behind Amanda's eyes. Fear versus anger. Self-preservation versus justice. If I do this, Amanda said slowly, I want guarantees. What kind? I want everyone who touched my complaint to be investigated. Not just Harrigan. The admin NCO who buried my report. The officer who transferred me. The medical staff who altered my psychological evaluation. Everyone. Maya nodded. That's already in motion. I want my discharge status reviewed. I left AWOL because I was afraid for my life. I shouldn't have to carry that on my record forever. I'll advocate for that personally. And I want him to know it was me. When they lead him into court, I want Harrigan to look up and see my face and know that the woman he tried to break is the one who ended him." Maya felt something shift in her chest. Recognition. Respect. "I can arrange that." Amanda was quiet for a long moment. Then she straightened in her chair, and Maya saw it happen. The victim becoming a survivor. The survivor becoming a weapon. "Tell me what you need me to do." The next 3 hours moved fast. Maya coordinated with Washington while Webb assembled files. Torres organized the other victims, preparing them for interviews. Amanda Reyes began drafting a statement that would be released to major media outlets if Wentworth's cover-up attempt succeeded. By noon, Maya had 12 witness statements secured. By 1400, she had corroborating documentation from 3 separate administrative files that showed systematic suppression of complaints. By 1600, she had a timeline that connected Harrigan's predatory behavior to at least 15 women over 7 years. And then everything changed. Maya was in Webb's office when her secure device buzzed with an urgent alert. "Immediate threat. Harrigan has been released from detention. Senator Wentworth invoked emergency national security protocols. Harrigan is no longer in custody." Maya read the message twice, her blood turning cold. "What is it?" Webb asked. "They released him." "What?" "Wentworth pulled strings. National security emergency protocols. Harrigan is free." Webb's face went white. "That's not possible. The evidence doesn't matter if the people with power decide to ignore it." Maya stood her mind racing through possibilities. Harrigan was free, he would be angry. He would be dangerous, and he would be looking for the people who had tried to destroy him. She pulled out her phone and called Torres. "Jessica, where are you?" "I'm at the barracks. Why? What's happening?" "Harrigan's been released. You need to get somewhere safe. Now." "Released? How is that?" "I'll explain later. Get to Colonel Webb's office. Don't stop. Don't talk to anyone. Go." She ended the call and turned to Webb. "We need to secure the witnesses, all of them, tonight. I'll make the calls. And we need to accelerate the public release. If Harrigan is free, he's going to try to silence anyone who might testify." Webb nodded, already reaching for her phone. Maya headed for the door, then stopped. "Colonel, if I don't make it through this, the evidence files are on 3 separate servers. The access codes are in a sealed envelope in my quarters, hidden in the air vent above the bed. Make sure they get to someone who will use them." Webb's face was grim. "You think it's going to come to that?" "I think men like Harrigan don't accept defeat, and I think Senator Wentworth didn't release him out of the goodness of his heart." She opened the door and stepped into the corridor. The base felt different now. Charged. Dangerous. The air hummed with something Maya recognized from combat zones. The calm before violence. She was halfway to her quarters when she saw him. Harrigan stood at the end of the corridor, blocking her path. He was still in his uniform, but it was wrinkled now, stained. His face was bruised from their encounter in the laundry room. But he was smiling. "Commander Chen, we need to talk." Maya stopped. Calculated distances. Exit points. Potential weapons. "I don't think we do." "Oh, I think we do." He walked toward her slowly, hands visible but relaxed. "You see, you made a mistake. You thought this was about justice, about protecting women, about doing the right thing. Wasn't it? It was about power. It's always about power. And you don't have enough of it. I have evidence. I have witnesses. I have a story that's going to be on every news network in the country by tomorrow morning." Harrigan laughed. "You think I'm worried about news networks? Senator Wentworth owns 3 of them. They're parent companies anyway. You think any of them are going to run a story that makes his former son-in-law look bad? Maya felt a chill run down her spine. Former son-in-law. So that's the connection. Wentworth's daughter left me 3 years ago, but her daddy and I stayed close. Very close. He knows things about me that would end his career if they came out. So he protects me, and I protect him. Mutually assured destruction. Something like that. Harrigan stepped closer. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to withdraw your report. You're going to tell everyone you made a mistake. You're going to disappear back to whatever black ops hole you crawled out of. And this all goes away. And if I don't, Harrigan's smile widened, then the women who trusted you are going to start having accidents. Torres first probably, then Warren, then whoever else thought they were safe because some Navy bitch with a badge told them she could protect them. Maya's hands curled into fists. You're threatening witnesses in a federal investigation. I'm having a private conversation. There's no recording devices here, no cameras, just you and me and the truth. The truth. The truth is that the system you're trying to burn down is the only thing keeping people like you alive. You think you're special. You think you're the first crusader who tried to take me down. I've buried better than you. He was close now, close enough to touch. But I'm going to give you one chance, because I respect what you did in that laundry room. You're a fighter. I like fighters. What chance? Walk away. Tonight. Tell everyone you got new orders. Tell them the investigation was inconclusive. Tell them whatever you want, but leave. And I'll let your witnesses live. Maya looked into his eyes and saw nothing there. No conscience. No doubt. Just the absolute certainty of a man who had never faced real consequences in his entire life. She thought about Torres, about Warren, about Amanda Reyes hiding in Seattle, finally ready to fight. She thought about 12 years of victims. She thought about the system that protected men like Harrigan and destroyed the women who tried to stop them. And then she thought about what she had come here to do. No. Harrigan's smile faltered. No, I'm not walking away. I'm not withdrawing my report, and I'm not letting you threaten anyone else. Then you've just signed your witnesses' death warrants. No, I've just signed yours. Maya moved. She closed the distance between them in a single step, her hand shooting up to grip Harrigan's throat before he could react. He was bigger, stronger, better trained than the average soldier. But he wasn't trained like her. She drove him backward, pinning him against the wall, her grip tightening on his windpipe. You think I came here alone, she hissed. You think Washington sent one woman into this pit without backup? Harrigan's eyes widened, his hands clawing at her wrist. There are 3 surveillance teams on this base right now. Every conversation you've had since you were released has been monitored. Every threat you've made has been recorded, and Senator Wentworth's phone has been tapped for the past 72 hours. She leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. You just admitted to conspiracy to commit murder. On tape. To a federal officer. In a military facility. Harrigan's face went purple. His struggles weakened. The game changed, Master Sergeant. You just didn't know it. She released him, and he collapsed to his knees, gasping for air. Behind her, footsteps approached. MPs. 4 of them. Armed. Commander Chen, rearrest this man. Add charges of witness tampering, conspiracy to commit murder, and threatening a federal officer. The MPs moved forward, securing Harrigan before he could recover. Maya watched as they dragged him upright, watched as the arrogance finally drained from his face, replaced by the dawning realization that he had lost. You can't do this, he gasped. Senator Wentworth is being arrested right now. along with everyone else in his network who thought they were above the law. She stepped closer, looking down at the man who had terrorized women for years. You were right about one thing, Master Sergeant. This was always about power. You just picked a fight with someone who had more of it. She turned and walked away, leaving Harrigan screaming threats that no one would ever answer. The system that had protected him was burning, and Maya Chen was just getting started with the matches. The news broke at 0600 the next morning. Maya stood in Colonel Webb's office watching 3 different news feeds simultaneously. Every major network was running the story. Senator Harrison Wentworth arrested at his Georgetown home. Master Sergeant Cole Harrigan facing court-martial on 17 counts. A military sexual assault scandal spanning 7 years and at least 15 victims. The headline screamed what the system had tried to whisper away. Senator arrested in military cover-up scandal. Decorated soldier accused of serial sexual assault. Whistleblowers expose years of institutional protection for predators. Webb stood beside her coffee, untouched eyes red from a sleepless night. I never thought I'd see this day. Neither did they. Maya's phone buzzed. A message from Washington. Wentworth attempting to cut deal, offering testimony against military contacts in exchange for reduced charges. Recommend accepting. She typed back quickly. No deals. Full prosecution. All of them. The response came in seconds. Understood. Your call. Webb glanced at the phone. Problems. Politicians trying to save themselves. Nothing new. Will it work? Not this time. A knock at the door interrupted them. Torres entered her face carrying an expression Maya hadn't seen before. Not fear, not hope. Something stronger. Commander, the other women want to talk to you. Which other women? All of them. Every name on the list. Plus 6 more who came forward overnight after they saw the news. They're waiting in the conference room. Maya looked at Webb, then back at Torres. How many total? 21. 21 women. 21 stories that had been silenced, buried, ignored. 21 voices that were finally ready to speak. Maya followed Torres down the corridor, her footsteps steady despite the weight of what awaited her. The conference room was full. Women in uniform lined every chair, stood against every wall. Some Maya recognized from the files. Some she had never seen before. Ages ranged from early 20s to late 40s. Ranks from private to captain. They all watched her enter with the same expression. Waiting. Hoping. Needing to know that this time would be different. Maya stood at the front of the room and looked at each face in turn. My name is Commander Maya Chen. I was sent here to do one thing. To make sure that what happened to you never happens to anyone else on this base. And to make sure that the people who hurt you face justice. A captain in the front row spoke first. Her name tag read Morrison. How do we know this isn't just another investigation that gets buried? Because I don't work for the system that buried the others. I work for people who want to burn that system down. Senator Wentworth was one of the most powerful politicians in Washington, Morrison continued. He has friends everywhere, allies, people who owe him favors. How do you stop someone like that? By making the evidence so public and so undeniable that no amount of political protection can make it disappear. A younger woman near the back raised her hand. Private Stripes. Couldn't have been more than 20. I never filed a report. I was too scared. Does that mean I can't testify? It means your testimony is even more important. Every woman who was silenced by fear is proof that the system failed. Every story that went untold is evidence of how deep the corruption went. Another voice from the side of the room. Sergeant Stripes. Harrigan's lawyer is already on the news saying the evidence was obtained illegally, saying the women are making false accusations for attention, saying we're trying to destroy a hero's reputation. Maya's jaw tightened. I saw that interview. I also saw the recording of Harrigan admitting he's been doing this for years. I saw the photographs his friend took without consent. I saw the chat logs where they bet on which woman they could assault next. The evidence speaks for itself. But will anyone listen? The question hung in the air. Maya could feel the doubt, the fear, the years of disappointment pressing against the walls. She took a breath and spoke the truth. I don't know. I can't promise you that everyone will believe you. I can't promise that the system will work the way it should. I can't promise that every person who hurt you will face the consequences they deserve. She paused, letting the silence settle. But I can promise you this. You will be heard. Your stories will be told. And even if the system fails again, even if powerful people try to make this disappear, the world will know what happened here. They will know your names. They will know what you survived. And they will know that you fought back. Torres stepped forward from where she'd been standing near the door. She kept her word to me. When no one else would listen, she listened. When no one else would act, she acted. I believe her. Another woman stood, Warren the corporal who had told Maya about Amanda Reyes. I believe her too, and I'm ready to testify. One by one, they rose. 21 women, 21 voices that had been silenced for too long. We're all ready. Maya looked at them. These broken, brave, beautiful women who had survived the worst and still found the strength to stand. Then let's finish this. The court-martial proceedings began 3 days later. Military justice moved fast when the pressure was high enough, and the pressure had never been higher. Congressional oversight committees demanded answers. Media attention made delay impossible. The victims' statements had been viewed over 50 million times online. The world was watching. Maya sat in the observation gallery as the charges were read. Harrigan looked different now. The confident predator who had cornered her in the laundry room was gone. In his place sat a diminished figure in a wrinkled uniform, his eyes darting around the courtroom like a trapped animal searching for escape routes that didn't exist. The lead prosecutor, a naval commander named Sarah Blackwell, delivered the opening statement with surgical precision. Master Sergeant Cole Harrigan is not on trial for being a hero. He is not on trial for his service record. He is on trial for systematically preying on the women under his command, for using his position of power to assault, intimidate, and silence victims, and for corrupting the administrative systems designed to protect those victims. She turned to face the military judges. The evidence will show that Harrigan assaulted at least 15 women over a 7-year period. The evidence will show that complaints against him were systematically buried by administrative personnel who were either complicit in his crimes or afraid of his political connections. The evidence will show that when one victim finally had the courage to expose him, Harrigan attempted to threaten her life and the lives of other witnesses. Harrigan's defense attorney objected. Your Honor, the prosecution is making inflammatory statements without foundation. Commander Blackwell didn't miss a beat. I have foundation. I have 21 witnesses. I have audio recordings. I have video evidence. I have written confessions from 3 of the defendants' co-conspirators. And I have the testimony of Commander Maya Chen, who personally witnessed the defendant commit assault and later recorded him threatening to murder witnesses. The defense attorney sat down. The first witness was called. Torres. She walked to the stand with her head held high, her uniform pressed sharp, her eyes fixed forward. The frightened girl who had laughed bitterly in the chow hall was gone. In her place stood a soldier. The prosecutor guided her through her testimony gently but thoroughly. The isolation, the grooming, The assault in the equipment room. The threats. The fear. The silence. Torres spoke clearly, her voice steady, her words precise. When she described what Harrigan had done to her, 3 of the judges visibly flinched. When she described what he had said afterward, promising to destroy her career if she talked, the courtroom went silent. When she finished, the defense attorney rose for cross-examination. "Private Torres, isn't it true that your marksmanship scores were declining before the alleged incident?" "Yes." "And isn't it true that you were at risk of failing qualification?" "Yes." "So isn't it possible that you're making these accusations to explain your poor performance, to blame someone else for your failures?" Torres didn't flinch. "My scores dropped because I was being stalked by a predator. My performance suffered because I was afraid to go to training. My failure was the system's failure, not mine. But you have no physical evidence of the assault, no witnesses, just your word against a decorated combat veteran." "I have my word. I have the word of 20 other women who experienced the same thing. And I have the recording where he admitted to doing it." The defense attorney's face went red. "That recording was obtained without proper authorization. That recording was obtained by a federal officer conducting an authorized investigation, and it's been admitted into evidence by this court." The attorney sat down. Torres stepped off the stand and returned to her seat in the gallery. As she passed Maya, their eyes met. Maya nodded once. "Acknowledgement? Respect." Torres nodded back. "One down. 20 more to go." The testimony continued for 3 days. Each woman told her story. Each voice added weight to the mountain of evidence. Each account revealed new details about how the system had failed, how complaints had been buried, how transfers had been used to silence victims, how medical records had been altered, how careers had been destroyed. By the end of the 2nd day, 2 of the military judges had requested recesses to compose themselves. By the end of the 3rd day, Harrigan's defense strategy had collapsed entirely. His attorney attempted to paint the women as coordinated liars, part of some conspiracy to destroy an innocent man. But the evidence was too overwhelming, the patterns too consistent, the details too specific. When Maya took the stand, she delivered the final blow. "Commander Chen, can you describe what happened in the laundry room on the night in question?" Maya spoke directly, her voice carrying across the silent courtroom. "I was conducting surveillance as part of an authorized climate investigation. I placed myself in a position where I would appear vulnerable to potential predators. 4 men approached me. They blocked my exits. They made threatening statements. Corporal Pierce attempted to remove my clothing. Master Sergeant Harrigan touched me without consent and stated his intention to, quote, teach me a lesson. What happened next? I defended myself. I subdued all 4 men using non-lethal force. I secured their recording device, which contained evidence of their intent. I contacted base security and initiated arrest protocols. And the following day, after Master Sergeant Harrigan was released from custody, he approached me in a corridor. He threatened to kill the witnesses if I didn't withdraw my report. He admitted to previous assaults. He stated that Senator Wentworth would protect him from any consequences. Was this conversation recorded? Yes. The recording has been submitted as evidence and authenticated by 3 separate technical experts. The defense attorney rose for cross-examination. His face showed the exhaustion of a man who knew he had already lost. Commander Chen, you deliberately placed yourself in a dangerous situation. You could have simply arrested Harrigan based on the testimony of other victims. Why the elaborate setup? Maya met his eyes. Because testimony can be dismissed. Recordings cannot. I needed evidence that couldn't be buried, couldn't be altered, couldn't be explained away. The only way to catch a predator who has been protected by the system is to show the world exactly what he does when he thinks no one is watching. So you used yourself as bait. I used myself as a witness. The difference is that I fought back. The attorney had no further questions. Closing arguments were brief. The evidence spoke for itself. The military judges deliberated for less than 2 hours, guilty on all counts. The courtroom erupted. Somewhere in the gallery, Maya heard Torres crying. Warren was hugging another woman she didn't recognize. Captain Morrison had her head in her hands, shoulders shaking. Harrigan sat motionless, staring at the table in front of him, the reality of his destruction finally penetrating the armor of entitlement he had worn for so long. The lead judge read the sentence. Master Sergeant Cole Harrigan, you have been found guilty of 17 counts of sexual assault, 12 counts of witness intimidation, 7 counts of conspiracy, and 3 counts of threatening a federal officer. You are hereby sentenced to 45 years confinement at the United States Disciplinary Barracks, Fort Leavenworth. You are stripped of all rank and privileges. You are dishonorably discharged from the United States Army. Harrigan finally looked up. His eyes found Maya in the gallery. For a moment, something passed between them. Not understanding, not regret, just the recognition of a man who had finally met someone he couldn't break. Then the MPs led him away, and he was gone. Maya stood and walked toward the exit. The other women parted to let her pass, their faces carrying expressions she would remember for the rest of her life. Gratitude, relief, something like love. Torres caught her arm as she reached the door. Thank you. For everything. Maya looked at her. This young woman who had trusted her, who had risked everything, who had helped bring down a monster. Don't thank me. Thank yourself. You found your voice. You used it. That's what changed everything. Will you stay for the other proceedings? Maya shook her head. There are other bases, other Harrigans, other systems that need burning down. So you're just going to leave after everything? Maya smiled. It was small, tired, but genuine. I was never here to stay, Jessica. I was here to start something. The rest is up to you. She turned and walked out of the courtroom, leaving behind 21 women who would never be silenced again. The proceedings against Wentworth lasted another week. Maya followed the coverage from Washington, where she was already being briefed on her next assignment. The senator tried every trick, called in every favor, threatened every ally. None of it worked. His connection to Harrigan was too well documented. His attempts to suppress the investigation were too clearly recorded. His own staffers began cooperating with prosecutors in exchange for immunity. In the end, he pled guilty to obstruction of justice and conspiracy to suppress criminal evidence. The headline read, Senator Wentworth resigns in disgrace. Faces prison time. 3 days later, Maya received a package at her temporary quarters. No return address. Inside was a photograph and a handwritten note. The photograph showed a group of women in Army uniforms standing together outside the Fort Ridgeline courthouse. Torres was in the center, flanked by Warren Morrison and a dozen others Maya recognized from the trial. They were all smiling. The note read, We wanted you to know what you made possible. Every woman in this picture has decided to stay in the service. Every one of us is going to make sure this never happens again. Not on our watch. Thank you for believing us when no one else would. Thank you for fighting when we couldn't fight anymore. Thank you for showing us that the system can change if we force it to. You told me once that you were here to burn it all down. You did. Now we're here to build something better. With love and respect, the women of Fort Ridgeline. Maya read the note 3 times. Then she folded it carefully and placed it in her bag next to the black envelope that contained her orders for the next base. The next system that needed correction. The next predator who thought he was untouchable. She picked up her duffel and headed for the door. The fire she had started at Fort Ridgeline was still burning, and she had more matches to light. 6 months later, Maya Chen stood at the edge of a rifle range she had never seen before. Different base, different state, different predator, same mission. Her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. She opened it and found a video link. Torres had sent it without explanation. Maya pressed play. The video showed a graduation ceremony at Fort Ridgeline. Women in uniform receiving their marksmanship qualifications. Torres stood at the front of the formation, her scores displayed on a board behind her. Top of her class. The camera panned across the other graduates. Warren was there. Morrison. 6 other women Maya recognized from the trial. Then Torres stepped forward to receive her certificate. The commanding officer handed it to her and shook her hand. But Torres didn't walk away immediately. She turned to face the camera, looked directly into the lens, and snapped a perfect salute. The video ended. Maya stared at the screen for a long moment. Then she saved the video to her phone and slipped it back into her pocket. Some fires burned down systems that needed to fall. Others lit the way for people who needed to rise. She had done both. Her secure device buzzed with a different notification. A message from Washington. New assignment confirmed. Target Colonel Marcus Webb, Fort Braxton, North Carolina. Pattern matches previous operations. 12 complaints filed over 4 years. 0 prosecutions. Authorization granted for full investigation. Maya read the brief and felt the familiar weight settle onto her shoulders. Another monster hiding behind medals. Another system protecting its own. Another group of women waiting for someone to believe them. She typed a response. Accepted. En route. Then she picked up her duffel and headed for the transport that would take her to the next battlefield. The flight to Fort Braxton took 3 hours. Maya spent the time reviewing files, memorizing names, building the mental map she would need to navigate another corrupted system. Colonel Marcus Webb. 22 years of service. 3 combat deployments. Distinguished Service Medal. A reputation as a mentor who took special interest in developing female soldiers. The pattern was always the same. Power disguised as guidance. Abuse masked as mentorship. Complaints buried under commendations. She had seen it before. She would see it again. But this time, something was different. Her phone buzzed again. Another message from Torres. Heard you're heading to Braxton. Webb's reputation reaches far. 3 women from my training class were assigned there last year. 2 transferred out within months. 1 is still there. Her name is Lieutenant Sarah Chen. No relation to you, but she could use a friend. Maya typed back. I don't make friends, I make witnesses. Torres responded immediately. Same thing. Good luck, Commander. Maya put the phone away and closed her eyes. Lieutenant Sarah Chen. No relation, but a woman alone in a system designed to destroy her. Another name to remember. Another voice to protect. Another story waiting to be told. The transport touched down at 1800 hours. Maya collected her gear and stepped onto the tarmac. Fort Braxton was larger than Fort Ridgeline. More personnel, more complexity, more places for predators to hide. She scanned the perimeter automatically. Camera positions, patrol patterns, blind spots. There were always blind spots. A young lieutenant approached her with a clipboard and a nervous smile. Specialist Chen, I'm Lieutenant Hayes. Colonel Webb sent me to escort you to your quarters. Maya noted the way Hayes glanced around before speaking, the slight tremor in her hands, the dark circles under her eyes. Another woman living in fear. "Thank you, Lieutenant. Lead the way." Hayes walked quickly, keeping her head down, avoiding eye contact with the soldiers they passed. "The Colonel is looking forward to meeting you," she said. "He takes a personal interest in all visiting evaluators." "I'm sure he does." Hayes flinched at the tone, but didn't respond. They reached the visitor quarters. Hayes handed over a key card and turned to leave. "Lieutenant," Hayes stopped. "How long have you been assigned to Colonel Webb's staff?" 8 months. "And how many female officers have been on his staff during that time?" Hayes was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was barely audible. 6. I'm the only one left." "What happened to the others?" "Transferred. All of them. They said they needed new assignments. Better opportunities." "Did they—" Hayes met her eyes for the first time. The fear there was raw, undisguised. They needed to survive. That's all any of us need. She walked away before Maya could respond. Maya watched her go, then entered her quarters and began unpacking. The hunt had already started. The next morning, Maya reported to Colonel Webb's office for her official introduction. Webb was everything his file had promised. Tall, distinguished, silver hair perfectly trimmed. The kind of commanding presence that photographed well and hid everything rotten underneath. He rose from behind his desk and extended his hand with a warm smile. "Specialist Chen, welcome to Fort Braxton." Maya shook his hand. Firm grip, eye contact, the practiced charm of a predator who had perfected his disguise over decades. "Thank you, Colonel. I've heard impressive things about your work at Fort Ridgeline. The Harrigan case made quite a splash." Justice tends to do that. Webb's smile flickered for just a moment. Then it returned wider than before. "Indeed it does. I hope you'll find that Fort Braxton runs a much tighter ship. We take care of our people here." "All of your people, without exception." Maya held his gaze. "I'm glad to hear that. My evaluation will be thorough." "I would expect nothing less." He gestured to a chair across from his desk. Maya sat. Webb remained standing, positioning himself slightly above her. A dominance display. Subtle, but deliberate. "I understand you'll be observing our training operations for the next 2 weeks," he said. "I've assigned Lieutenant Hayes to assist you. She's one of my best young officers. I met her yesterday. She seems dedicated." "She is. Very dedicated. I've taken a personal interest in her development." The words hung in the air between them. Maya catalogued them, filed them away. "I'm sure you have." Webb's eyes narrowed slightly, the first crack in his armor. "Is there something specific you're looking for during your evaluation, Specialist?" Maya stood slowly, matching his height as closely as her frame allowed. "I'm looking for the truth, Colonel, whatever that turns out to be." She walked out before he could respond. The door closed behind her, and Maya felt Webb's gaze burning into her back. He knew. Somewhere in that predator's mind, alarm bells were already ringing. He had spent years learning to read threats, and Maya had just announced herself as one. Good. Scared predators made mistakes, and mistakes left evidence. She found Lieutenant Sarah Chen in the motor pool at 1100 hours. Chen was younger than Maya expected. Mid-20s. Compact build. The kind of quiet intensity that came from years of proving herself in spaces that didn't want her. She looked up as Maya approached, her expression guarded. "Can I help you?" "Lieutenant Chen. I'm Specialist Maya Chen, visiting evaluator." "No relation." "None. But I've heard about you from mutual friends." Chen's guard dropped slightly. "Torres, She said you might need a friend. I don't need friends. I need transfer orders. Maya moved closer, lowering her voice. Why haven't you requested them? Chen's jaw tightened. Because I'm not running. I came here to serve. I came here to be a soldier. I'm not going to let some silver-haired predator chase me off like he chased off everyone else. So you know what he is. Everyone knows what he is. Nobody does anything about it. I'm doing something about it. Right now. Chen studied her face, searching for something. Truth. Sincerity. The same things Torres had searched for in that chow hall 6 months ago. You're not just an evaluator, are you? No. You're the one who took down Harrigan. Yes. Chen was quiet for a long moment. Then something shifted in her expression. The same transformation Maya had seen in Torres, in Warren, in every woman who finally found someone willing to fight alongside them. What do you need from me? Everything you know, everyone who's been hurt, everyone who stayed silent because they thought no one would listen. That's a long list. I have time. Chen nodded slowly. There's a group, unofficial, 6 women who meet in the chapel on Sunday mornings. We call it prayer group. We don't pray. What do? We document, we record, we collect evidence that nobody ever asks for. Maya felt something shift in her chest. Pride. Hope. The recognition that the fire she had lit was spreading. You've been building a case. We've been building a weapon. We just didn't have anyone to pull the trigger. Maya extended her hand. Chen took it. Now you do. The case against Colonel Marcus Webb took shape over the following week. Maya met with the prayer group. 6 women with 6 stories that echoed everything she had heard before. Isolation, grooming, assault. Silence enforced through fear and institutional complicity. But this group had done something different. They had documented everything. Dates, times, locations, witnesses, medical records, transfer requests, performance evaluations that mysteriously dropped after complaints were filed. They had built a fortress of evidence that no defense attorney could breach. On day 8, Maya transmitted the preliminary findings to Washington. Pattern confirmed. 12 victims identified. Evidence secured. Recommend immediate prosecution. The response came within the hour. Authorization granted. Proceed with extraction. Maya gathered the prayer group in Lieutenant Chen's quarters that evening. It's time. Tomorrow morning, military investigators will arrive. Webb will be arrested. All of you will be asked to testify. The women looked at each other. Some were crying. Some were shaking. All were afraid. But none of them looked away. What if it doesn't work? One of them asked. A sergeant named Rodriguez. What if he has protectors like Harrigan did? He probably does. But Harrigan's protectors are in prison now, and so are the people who protected them. The system is changing. Slowly. Painfully. But it's changing. Chen spoke up. And if it doesn't, if they bury this like they've buried everything else? Maya looked at her. At all of them. Then we burn it down and start again. As many times as it takes, until women like us can serve without fear. Until predators like Webb can't hide behind their medals and their connections. Until the system protects victims instead of perpetrators. She paused. That's not a promise. It's a commitment, and I don't break commitments. The room was silent. Then Rodriguez stood. I'm in. One by one, the others rose. 6 women. 6 voices. 6 weapons aimed at a system that had tried to silence them. Chen was last. She stood and met Maya's eyes. "You said you don't make friends. You make witnesses." "I did." "You were wrong. You make soldiers." Maya felt something warm spread through her chest. Not pride, not satisfaction, recognition. "Then let's go to war." Colonel Marcus Webb was arrested at 0600 the next morning. Maya watched from the administrative building as MPs escorted him from his quarters. He was still in his pajamas. His perfect silver hair was disheveled. His commanding presence had crumbled into something small and pathetic. He saw her watching and stopped. "You," he said. "You did this." Maya walked toward him slowly. "No, Colonel. You did this. Every time you touched a woman who didn't want to be touched, every time you silenced someone who tried to speak, every time you used your power to destroy instead of protect. I'll fight this. I have friends, connections. So did Harrigan. So did Wentworth. They're both in prison now." Webb's face went pale. "This isn't justice. This is persecution." Maya leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "This is what happens when women stop being afraid. When we stop staying silent. When we start fighting back." She stepped away. "Take him." The MPs led Webb to a waiting vehicle. His protests echoed across the morning air, growing fainter with distance, until finally they faded into silence. Maya turned to find Chen standing behind her. "It's really over. For him, not for us. There are more bases, more predators, more systems that need correction." Chen nodded. "Will you stay, to see it through?" "I can't, but you can. You and the others. You built something here, a network, a support system, a way for women to protect each other when the institution fails them." "What are you saying?" Maya reached into her pocket and pulled out a card. "Naval Special Warfare Oversight Division," her direct line. "I'm saying the next time you find a predator, you don't have to wait for someone like me to show up. You call, you report, you fight. And if the system fails you again, we burn it down together." Chen took the card and stared at it for a long moment. "You're building an army." "I'm lighting fires. What grows from the ashes is up to you." Maya picked up her duffel and headed for the transport that would take her to the next assignment, the next battle, the next system that needed correction. Behind her, she heard Chen's voice. "Commander?" She turned. Chen stood at attention and snapped a perfect salute. Behind her, the other women from the prayer group had gathered. One by one, they followed Chen's example. 6 salutes, 6 soldiers, 6 flames that would continue burning long after Maya was gone. Maya returned the salute. Then she turned and walked away. 3 months later, Maya received a news alert on her phone. Fort Braxton implements landmark sexual assault prevention program. Lieutenant Sarah Chen named program director. Below the headline was a photograph. Chen standing in front of the base headquarters, surrounded by the women from the prayer group. All of them in uniform. All of them smiling. Maya saved the photograph next to the one Torres had sent her. 2 images. 2 bases. Dozens of women who had refused to stay silent. The fires were spreading. Her secure device buzzed with a new assignment. Commander Chen. New target identified. Admiral Raymond Price. Naval Station Norfolk. 23 complaints. 0 prosecutions. Authorization granted. Maya read the brief and began packing. Another predator who thought he was untouchable. Another system designed to protect monsters. Another battle waiting to be fought. She picked up her duffel and headed for the door. The work was never finished. The war never ended. There would always be another Harrigan, another Webb, another man who used power as a weapon against those he was supposed to protect. But there would also always be women like Torres, like Chen, like Warren and Morrison and Rodriguez and all the others who had found their voices and refused to be silenced. The system wasn't fixed. It might never be completely fixed. But it was burning. And from the ashes, something better was rising. Maya Chen walked out into the morning light, her footsteps steady, her purpose clear. She was a weapon, a fire starter, a voice for the voiceless. And she was just getting started. Because predators don't stop until someone makes them stop. And Maya Chen had made stopping them her life's work. One base at a time, one monster at a time, one woman at a time. Until the system learned that silence was no longer protection. Until the powerful understood that their power had limits. Until every woman who served knew that someone was fighting for her. That was the legacy she was building, not in medals or commendations or headlines, in the women who stood up after she walked away, in the fires that kept burning after she lit them, in the justice that finally came for those who thought they were above it. Maya Chen stepped onto the transport and never looked back. The next battle was waiting, and she was ready. What would you do if you witnessed injustice that everyone else ignored? Would you stay silent, or would you become the fire that burns down systems protecting predators? If this story moved, you hit that like button and subscribe. Share it with someone who needs to know that silence is not the only option. Turn on the bell so you never miss a story. And drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. Because stories like this don't just entertain. They remind us that one person with enough courage and enough conviction can change everything. I'll see you in the next one.